Hi, this is Kevin Schweman, and for my In the News presentation, I'm going to talk about recent announcements of college closures, really kind of looking at the past year or so, the number of colleges that have announced that they're closing. This list is by no means exhaustive of the colleges that have closed, but I think it's indicative of what's going on within the world of higher education. And then we're going to talk a little bit how this relates to adult education and the impacts that it has on student learners. So here's just a list of college closures that I came across. This is looking at the past since about February last year announcements. Most of these are small private colleges. It's a mix of small privates and for-profit career colleges, with Baker College really kind of being the exception that they're a nonprofit career college. So Atlantic Union announced in February last year that they were closing at the end of that school year. Mount Ida College announced in April that they were closing at the end of that school year, which caused quite a bit of uproar, especially in Massachusetts. The campus was being absorbed by the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and students from the institution were given priority admission to University of Massachusetts if they chose to continue their education there. In December of 2018, Education Corporation of America announced that they were closing 70 of their campuses. Had several different brands of for-profit career-type colleges. And then a week later, Newberry College announced that they were closing at the end of this year. They were a bit of an exception in that they gave a pretty good lead time and let their students know pretty far in advance that they were planning to close at the end of the school year. And then a couple days later, Vatterott Educational Centers in Missouri announced that they were closing their 15 campuses. And then a little bit closer to home, 2 weeks ago, Baker College announced that they were planning to consolidate some of their campuses, continuing to operate, but eliminating a couple of campuses and consolidating their operations. And then just last week, Green Mountain College announced that they were planning to close at the end of this school year. In Massachusetts, like I said, they tend to have a pretty high number of private colleges, small private colleges, and I think what really sparked this was the announcement from Mount Ida last April that they were closing in a couple of weeks. So the Massachusetts Board of Higher Education started looking at a proposal that would require colleges that are facing a risk of closure due to financial reasons to provide at least 18 months notice. That way their students would not be caught in the cold. And I think that there was some real concern, especially with Mount Ida, that there were students who had been admitted for the fall who had committed to Mount Ida and turned down other offers, and now were actually left without an institution. So there's a real risk there for potential harm to their students, and not to mention the staff who are losing their jobs. But some of the concerns about this proposal are that it's a little bit heavy-handed, and that by providing this much notice, if you provide too much notice, it actually can cause other problems. Students stop enrolling, which means that the financial strains grow even faster. And then also it can have an impact on the college's creditors, that if their creditors, their bond agencies, see that they're in financial trouble, they can start to pull their loans and basically force the institution to shut faster than they thought they would have had to. Baker College, I wanted to focus on this one just a little bit more since it is so close to home. Their plan that was announced a couple of weeks ago is to consolidate their original Flint location with their location in Owasso, which is about 25 miles down the road. And then they're going to consolidate their 3 campuses in Metro Detroit, from Allen Park, Auburn Hills, and Clinton Township, to a new campus that's yet to be determined. They're seeking approval to build a new campus in Ferndale, but that approval hasn't been completed yet with the city of Ferndale. So that new campus would be about 16 to 20 miles from the 3 current Metro Detroit campuses. Much like the other institution that had provided the advance notice, their Baker College isn't planning to make this change until the fall of 2020. So this is giving their students a pretty good lead time in order to either try to complete their degrees or transfer to another institution. The college is making it very clear to their students that they can continue their program seamlessly at other campuses or online. So they don't have to transfer to complete their degrees. They just have to be willing to commute to a new campus. All right, so what's the effect of this on adult education? I think that when you start thinking about adult education and thinking about how that fits in with a career trajectory, if you look at Super's theories related to career development, he says that career education and career guidance must deal with the lifelong processes of growth, exploration, establishment, maintenance, and decline, which constitutes a career. So really, there's this cycle of progress that students and society members kind of go through in terms of their career. That they start with that period of growth and exploration when they learn about what they want to do. They go into that establishment phase where they really start to create a name for themselves within their career. And then the maintenance stage is really about maintaining their status quo. And then at the end of their career, it's decline and coasting in towards retirement. That maintenance stage, really, one of the key aspects of that is that workers focus on continuing their education to stay current in their field. So they're seeking other opportunities to go out and expand their knowledge, whether that's dictated by their employer or whether they just want to do some additional training, additional education so that they can stay current and relevant. And this is really, I think that when you look at the model for for-profit career colleges, or for Baker College's instance, they're nonprofit, but they're still a career college. That's one of the niches that they fall into, is that it's for students who are coming back to get a second degree or to further their education. So they're not necessarily looking for a bachelor's degree. They could be getting a certificate. They could be getting an associate's degree. They could be taking just additional classes in order to stay current. So when you see a campus, an institution like Baker College consolidating and moving their operations around, it's really going to have an effect on the adult population in their original communities, so that now those students, they're going to have that additional burden to have to travel to a new campus, or starting in fall of 2020, they won't have that option where they are. So it really kind of puts a burden on them to be able to continue that education. And then Miriam and Birma talk a lot about why adults seek additional education, and that they really need to have some sort of internal motivation to do so, whether it's to solve a problem. They just got diagnosed with cancer and they want to learn all about it. They want to get a promotion. They're about to lose their job, or they just lost their job and they want to get some additional education to be more current in their field. Or they just want to learn something new. And again, when you see campuses closing, especially closures like Baker College and the other career colleges, it really has an effect on those workers and their ability to be able to seek out additional education. And then finally, a list of the references, the articles from Inside Higher Ed related to each of the closures, and then Miriam and Birma and Super's article from 1975, but it's still very current, or still relevant in terms of looking at career development throughout one's career lifespan. So thank you.